Mega Man 2 was first released on December 24th, 1988 for the Nintendo Entertainment System, with many re-releases on many different platforms in the form of an online purchase, remake, or as a part of a collection. After the moderate success of the first Mega Man, the series was greenlit for a sequel, but not as a priority one game, meaning it was only to be worked on only when having free time from working on more important projects. This sequel would end up paying off in a major way, with it becoming one of the best-selling games on the NES with over 1.5 million games sold, as well as gaining the title of one of the greatest video games of all time. Now my question is this game truly deserving of this title, or is the hype behind it overblown? Let's find out. After being defeated by Mega Man in their first encounter, the villainous Dr. Wily is ready to strike back with 8 newly constructed Robot Masters programmed with the intent of not only being evil, but to destroy Mega Man once and for all. It is now once again up to Rock to take up the mantle of the super fighting robot Mega Man and vanquish the diabolical Doctor and his new robot menaces. The graphics are significantly enhanced, with all the sprites being smoother and more detailed, and most of the backgrounds being more than just a single static color. The effects when defeating enemies are seemingly unchanged, but that's fine. The enemies are more creatively designed, and even the menus seem to have a bit more going on than before. Overall, I would say that this game looks a lot less bland than the previous installment, and this was a pretty good step up in this department. The gameplay is still the same run-and-gun style from the previous installment, with the unique staple of the series, which is being able to use the weapons of the Robot Masters after defeating them. What's new in this installment are obviously the 8 new Robot Masters powers, ranging from the overpowered Metal Blade and Leaf Shield to the adequate Quick Boomerang and Flash Stopper to the completely useless Bubble Lead. This game also saw the introduction of the Energy Tank, or E-Tank for short, which when upon picking it up would stay in your inventory until you needed to use it to fully refill your health. And finally, this game also introduces transport items in the form of the very creatively named Item 1, a hovering platform, Item 2, a red jet sled, and Item 3, a wall-crawling platform. The controls are virtually unchanged from the last game, with the B button still being how you shoot the Mega Buster and the A button still being how you jump. The start button still opens up the weapon selection, as well as it still being the button to use when selecting stuff when within the menus. Unsurprisingly, the only thing changed controls-wise is that the pause button has been completely removed, which makes sense since the weapon selection already acted as a pause feature. Now as for how the game feels when playing it, I would say that it feels simultaneously both smooth and slippery. I say this because when moving, you have full control of Mega Man with no delay even when jumping, but when you stop moving, he will slide a little, and if you're not careful, you could slide yourself off an edge and into a pit or an enemy. There are 15 stages in total, 8 for each of the Robot Masters and 7 for Dr. Wily. The stages for the Robot Masters are all based around the Robot Masters themselves, with some examples being Airman stage taking place in the sky with enemies trying to blow you off the stage, Bubble Man stage being underwater and having sea life themed enemies, and Woodman, whose stage is located within a forest. Dr. Wily's stages are once again set within his mechanical fortress, this time with the outdoor part having a skull aesthetic, while the indoor areas are full of a mixture of rampant machinery, dank sewers, walls laced with spikes, and the walls being colored in either a dark green or a dark purple. After the brutal difficulty of the first game, the developers decided to massively soften the blow for the series' second outing. As soon as the game is booted up and you reach the title screen, you are given the option of playing the game in either normal or difficult. Playing on normal will greatly reduce the amount of damage the enemies and bosses can deal out, as well as greatly increase the amount of item drops when defeating enemies, while when playing on difficult, the amount of damage and the amount of item drops are set at a much more normal rate. But honestly, regardless of which difficulty you choose to play this game with, it is overall still pretty easy. The stages and bosses are no hassle to beat, the E-Tanks can get you out of a tough situation, and even when playing on difficult, the drop rate for the items is still way too high and the game will just shower you with them. The only truly hard parts of the game are the later Wily stages, simply because they have tough platforming sections within rooms full of spikes, one of which has a bullshit boss that you have to die and redo the stage in order to defeat it. The music for this game is honestly pretty good. I didn't remember liking it, and I was going to write it off as good but not one of my personal favorite soundtracks even within the Mega Man series, but now after re-listening to it, I could easily say that this game has a really great soundtrack. Despite this music being made on an NES, the composers took the system's sound potential to its limits by being able to create some pretty catchy and intense chip tunes that fit perfectly right alongside the action-packed gameplay. Some of my favorite tracks would have to include Quick Man Stage, Metal Man Stage, Flash Man Stage, Heat Man Stage, and Dr. Wily's Castle. So with all that said, is this game deserving of the title of one of the best video games of all time? In my personal opinion, no. Now, I'm not saying that this game is bad, although it does get pretty dicey in those later Dr. Wily stages, but to say that it's one of the best just seems a bit bizarre to me, or at least it would if I didn't like the first game. You see, the first game is not as welcoming as this game is, as it overall has a much more rougher edge, and this is especially true for the difficulty. The first game would kick you while you were down, whereas this game is the equivalent to a walk in the park. And I believe that it is because of this heavily softened difficulty curve that more people came to play this game, thus it gained the title that it still holds today. So in conclusion, I think that this is a good game and I would recommend it, but it's not one of the best games ever made or even one of the best Mega Man simply because of how accessible it is. I guess what to take away from all this is just because a game, or I guess a book, a movie, a song, etc. is considered one of the best of all time doesn't mean that you will personally have the same opinion of it. I mean, I definitely know that's true about other games that bear this title, but those are reviews for another time. Thanks for watching.